Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your marriage without your husband's conscious effort so that you feel desired and taken care of and special, even if your relationship feels completely hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today I'm talking about when to leave a relationship. My guest Julie went to their last couples counseling appointment by herself because her husband wouldn't go. She was living with continuous cold wars and disconnection, wondering if he was a gaming addict or just very depressed. But then the marriage counselor recommended a book. And today she says her marriage is such a safe place and she feels like a new woman who is happy and hopeful. She's so grateful for her patient, loyal, honest, fun husband. She's going to tell us what she did so you can do it too. The Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award goes to a new Netflix show about getting married, and the title alone made me spit out my tea. All of that's coming up. But first, I'm going to talk about when to leave a relationship. If you're thinking of leaving your relationship, it's because you're feeling lonely, hurt, and probably hopeless about it ever getting better. I still remember how terrible that felt and how much relief I got thinking about escaping my marriage for that very reason. The pain was real. The part that wasn't so real was my fantasy that leaving the relationship was going to fix my problems and make me feel better. The illusion, which I was completely convinced was the truth, was that my husband was the source of problems that hurt me so much. But the reality, I now know, was that most of my suffering was because of a lack of training and support in practicing the 6 intimacy skills, and not because of a terrible, incorrigible husband. Back then, I would have sworn that it was all his fault and that he was never going to change. So my options were to leave or continue to suffer forever. And let's not forget, ever. But if I had ended my marriage back then, I would have missed out on having the great marriage I have now, which would have been so tragic. But I also would have missed out on all the lessons on learning how to love and be loved, and the confidence I gained and the dignity that was restored. So I hate to see any woman give up on her marriage before she gets the 6 intimacy skills and the connection framework to help her implement them. But what about abuse? You might be wondering. Shouldn't you leave your relationship if you're being abused? You are the expert on your own life, and that includes making yourself and your kids safe. Safety always comes first. But what's the best way to make yourself safe? Leaving is one way, but if you have kids or finances together, it's pretty hard to make a clean break. And now that I've had the honor of watching women who previously got restraining orders against their husbands fix their marriages, feel safe with their husbands again, and go on to train as coaches, I see that practicing the 6 intimacy skills along with the connection framework can also be a way to make you and your children safe. So it's nice to know you have options, right? Even if you are embarrassed about how you and your husband interact, if you want to stay and make your marriage last and thrive because of your kids or because you just want to, it's nice to know that you're not alone. There's a whole community of women who have been through all kinds of marital breakdowns, standing for your marriage, for your greatness as a woman and a wife, and standing for your husband's greatness too. And all of us have in common that we believe in marriage, that it's special, that it's sacred, that it's important. There are lots of places you can go if you want permission to leave your marriage, but not our campus. We're committed to reminding you why you married your husband, why you're still married to him, what your vision is for your family, even if your marriage feels like it's the lowest it's ever been. It doesn't have to stay that way. It can become everything you dreamed it would be. Some people climb Mount Everest. Some people run marathons or become great actors. But for me, the greatest achievement is to create a lasting, loving family even when it seems impossible. Something big is happening on the Laura Doyle campus, and you're invited. In January, I hosted a free 5-day Adored Wife Challenge, and thousands of women joined to take the practical steps to make their marriages last and thrive. And even I was amazed at the astounding results they got. We're about to start the 5-day Adored Wife Challenge again, where I'll share my best stuff for free. And the coaches are hosting a week of pre-challenge inspiration starting on August 15th, 2022. So register now at lauradoyle.org/challenge so you don't miss any of the action, because this only happens twice a year. Join us on our mission to end world divorce and go to lauradoyle.org/challenge. I'll see you there. My guest Julie went to their last couples counseling appointment by herself because her husband wouldn't go. She was living with continuous cold wars and disconnection, wondering if he was a gaming addict or just depressed. But then the marriage counselor recommended a book. And today she says her marriage is such a safe place, and she feels like a new woman who is happy and hopeful. She's so grateful for her patient, loyal, honest, fun husband. And she's going to tell us what she did so you can do it too. Julie, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so excited to have you on, hear your story.
I'm so thankful to be here.
Well, take us back to the bad old days. What were things like for you?
Oh, the bad old days. It wasn't that long ago. I was in marriage counseling, and we were there because it'd be great, and then blow up, and then quiet for like 3 weeks, couple weeks. And it was the last time that you were speaking of, it was my husband likes to game, and a game had come out, and he was all into it. And he came downstairs to watch TV and turned off the TV, said goodnight, and was going to go back to it and wanted to give me a kiss goodnight. And I said, I'm not proud, but I said, you can't ignore me all day and then expect me to kiss you goodnight. And then it started. I just didn't know how to express loneliness or wanting connection in a positive way. And the very next day, we had a counseling session in place, and the counselor listened to me talk about how I can't get through to him. I'm worried. I think he's depressed. I think he could be an addict. What do I do? And he said, I something to the effect of, I'm not sure what to do, but I hear a lot of you. And I think that you might benefit from listening or reading this book called The Empowered Wife. It's like, I don't know where it's all of the skills, but I do know it starts with self-care. And that's what led me down your path. And I listened to the audiobook. I listened to it a couple times in a row. Counseling was working for us, and that it helped me explore how I felt about things. Like, I had so many emotions, but I didn't know what to do with them. And so the skills really helped me fine tune all of these emotions that I had discovered. I'm a survivor of child abuse and domestic violence. So I was living with a lot of trauma and fear, and it really exposed itself in ways that were counterintuitive to what I desired. So, I really think the skills helped me become a different person.
Wow, that's amazing. So that was a lot. That's a huge thing that you just gave us right there. I want to just break it down a little bit, because so there was you guys were already going to marriage counseling, and then you said, you can't just kiss me, right? I mean, been there, Julie. So you're not the only person, but I love that you shared that with us, because I think it does feel like the thing you have to do if you want him to behave better is you're going to have to punish him or withhold It just seems kind of like instinctive to do that. And then, of course, it sounds like it backfired. So you were talking about cold wars that lasted for 3 weeks. Was that like no talking at
Oh
all,
no,
or
we
just
have
intense?
children. We very much
Okay.
were like, everything is fine. We would talk about what was needed, but there wasn't much more than that. It was very pleasant. We are very pleasant and friendly people, but definitely there is some pain below because I now know that when I would do that, he would withdraw to be safe,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't get anywhere, and then I would withdraw to be safe. And
Yeah.
here we were, hurt people trying to be safe. Yeah,
Like two turtles married to each
yeah,
other, right?
yeah.
Just kind of digging into that shell. So, and what was the original reason for going to marriage counseling? What was happening there?
So the original reason was what was that, but also I didn't know how to communicate with my husband. I didn't know how to talk to him. I lived so much of my life trying to stay safe and be invisible. I thought that the more I did for people, the more I would have value, or I would find my value. And in the end, what that does, it just makes you really tired and resentful. And I'm my husband is my closest person, which
Mhm.
also kind of makes him an easy target when you're not feeling well.
Mm.
And it was a hard realization. So like counseling was great in that we recognize our withdraw and pursue and all that good stuff, but I really not know what to do with it. And I, I didn't know what to do with it. I felt like I was giving all of the flags and how to recognize them, but it just had me sitting there stewing because I didn't want to hurt him, but I also didn't know how to proceed.
Mhm.
Um, so I really am glad I found your book. I was living with a lot of hurt
Mm.
and
Mm.
not caused by my husband, just
Mm.
holding it around and not knowing how to let go of it. So, um, intimacy skills really opened things up for me.
Well, I love this point you bring forth, which is he's just the guy that's near you, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pain already within you. There was, and there was within me too. And my husband happened to be there, and your husband happened to be there, so they kind of get the brunt of it. So, and it sounds like this. So this cycle had been going on where you guys would withdraw,
Mm-hmm.
even for a long time before, and that's what
Yeah.
probably drove you to get marriage counseling. What else did you do to try to solve the problems you guys were having?
Um, see, counseling. I tried reading all the books. I tried telling him things, but never quite works out the way you wanted to. Because I sounded like a broken record. Like
What-
he would tell me things like, I am putting in so much for effort and you don't see it, so why even try? So telling him what to do, or none of that worked. So
yeah.
um,
I mean, you're kind of giggling about it. And I giggle now too when I say the things back that I used to say, but that was all I had. That's all I could think to do. And
I
all the
really
experts.
I really did have to go back and think about what the beginning looked like when I sat down to do this interview, because just in a few short months' time, I couldn't remember. And that's a very wonderful feeling.
Isn't it though?
Yeah,
It's so you've come such a long way in such a short time, it sounds like. I think it's always kind of hard to go back and visit the bad old days in a way too, because that's counter to all the training you've been doing for these few months, right?
I can see all the things I did wrong.
Yeah. But I love the part where we just celebrate the ground that you've taken to, and without visiting those bad old days in some ways. It just looks like you just came fully formed to your marriage, like this, accountable girl of fun and light. so, so thanks for sharing a little bit about what was going on. It really helps to hear that part. So then you got the book and you listened several times. What did you start doing differently than you had been doing things?
Well, the first thing I did, when you read the skills, it feels a little overwhelming. They sound so easy, but they're not always so easy to do. So the first thing I did was I applied a lot of what they call duct tape. Well, not every thought I had needed to come out my mouth. And I had to really sit with myself and why do I feel that way? Why is this the way I feel? And I had spent so much time worrying about whether he gamed too much, if he slept too much, if he whatever he too much, and realized none of that was in my control. I needed to let go. Um, but what was on my control was analyzing myself. And I began to focus on myself with that same amount of force, and it helped tremendously. I knew that I had demons in my past that I needed to work through, and I was so afraid to do that. Being in ridiculously happy life, which I was surrounded by women who were in the same kind of predicament, trying to figure out themselves. And um, I spent a lot of time looking inward, and I came with so many epiphanies that
Really?
tremendously changed my life. One of them being was that surviving trauma, I had all of these boundaries around me to protect myself, to be perfect, to be shiny, to even be invisible at moments. And all of these things I was doing were kept me safe at the time of the trauma, but were
Mhm.
hurting me now. They weren't serving me anymore. Um, so I realized one of the reasons why we fell apart so hard is that things were good and I didn't know what to do with it. And my
Mhm.
husband provided a safe place and a loving place. And once I took the focus off him and started working on myself, it got so good.
Wow. So there was actually, um, we talk about things getting as good as you can stand, and I hear you saying is you couldn't stand it to be that good at first.
Yeah, because I didn't know what it felt
You
like.
didn't
I
have any
didn't
training along those lines.
know. I was so used to a life of chaos. I didn't realize that I was perpetuating that chaos within myself, you know. Like I said, I didn't know, but now I do.
Yeah.
um, when
Yes.
I feel chaotic now, I do a lot of self-care. I go and drink a cup of nice tea. I have a quiet moment. I do some stretching. I do a lot of thinking about what I want and how I want to get there. I put it out into the world, and sometimes it happens, and sometimes it doesn't. But I think my husband likes to hear all the things I would love to experience. I've become gracious and pleasable and
Oh,
all of those good things.
I love that. So he sees his chance now. He's like, oh, I'm going to be able to make Julie happy right here. Here it comes.
And he does all of the time.
What are some examples of these things that you find yourself desiring that you say?
Well, I one of the activities in Ridiculous Happy Wife was to work on your future self.
Yes.
Yeah, and my future self is a happy person who doesn't have a desire to run, who has healed through past trauma. Actually, at the top of my list was a promotion and going somewhere warm and all these things. And just focus, that intent focus. My list was like 15 things, and 12 of those things have come true. So,
Wow.
yeah, he's,
I want to hear about that. Let's, do you have that list handy? Because I'd love to hear.
I do. Um,
So these are things that don't even have to do with your marriage necessarily.
no, absolutely not. These were things that I, it's going to sound so funny, but these are things that I just needed to focus on me. These are things just that I could work on without my husband because I hold all the power.
Yeah. Yeah. what are some of the things on that list that you made about your future self?
So let me read you my list. It was, it, it goes like this. I was promoted at work. I have a group of close, supportive friends. I am more open and vulnerable with my husband. I'm healthy and happy. I am relaxed and have found inner peace. I smile and laugh a lot. I have taught my kids to be more self-sufficient. I receive more. It has lightened my load. I have a supportive partner. He takes care of me, follows through on projects, and is my hero. My husband and I enjoy each other's company. I have unpacked the pain and hurt that I used to carry around in my suitcase. Now it's always empty and ready to fill up for the next adventure. Speaking of ventures, I'm going to Hawaii with my husband. We're planning a Disneyland trip. Oh, and I'm thinking about becoming a coach trainee.
Oh, I love this list.
And all of it has come true, except for the trip to Hawaii and Disneyland. And I obviously coach training, but everything else has happened.
Wow. And I guess, would it be fair to say those things just haven't happened yet?
Yeah, they have not happened yet. There just hasn't been enough time.
Yeah, that's right.
I did this list. I did this list in February.
I mean, I love that. So February, and this is the end of June. So what does a promotion have to do with the intimacy skills, or like, why are we talking about your promotion?
Well, a promotion was, a future self of like what I desired, and so my purpose, I wanted my purpose to grow, and that was being, more of a contributed to my house, have something outside of my marriage. And so that really did give me something else to focus on, because my marriage doesn't need to be fixed.
Oh, so did you have like an energy surplus after your marriage was like
Yes.
not a project anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
So, oh,
It
go
was
ahead.
great.
So,
It's yeah.
so walk us through this, how this worked though. So you just wrote down all these things about your future self. And now so many of them are true. They're your reality. How did you do that?
So I focused on them intently. I focused on myself. I've never in my all my years spent as much time on myself as I have in the last few months. Um, the coaches in Ridiculously Happy Wife are so insightful and so helpful. And when you feel trapped in a moment, knowing that other people are experiencing it feels so empowering, because you're not in it alone. Um, and so much insight. Like, as soon as I heard focus on yourself, stay off your husband's paper, and relinquish control. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that, but I feel like we need to embrace this. I know this is what needs to happen. And it did. It letting go of so many things made me so much happier. I realized that the anxiety I carried around was because I had my hand in every cookie jar. Like, my fear had me wanting to control everything. And what I learned is I have no control. That's why it hurts so bad when things don't follow through the way I plan them. I can only plan them for myself. And as soon as I let go of what my husband was doing, what was happening in the world, calendar type stuff, I had so much free time. And when things failed, like didn't go through as planned. Well, I didn't have any plans, but they didn't go through. I didn't feel like I failed because I wasn't trying to control it.
Yeah.
So
There was less burden.
yes, a
To
lot less burden.
yeah.
I just really enjoy life now. I don't have to be in control of everything, just myself. And
Really?
I show up differently. And I let my husband know I love him every day.
Oh.
And instead of thinking about the things I want from him, I think about the things I want to give to him.
Mm.
And the things that he gives me, I'm gracious for. I used to say thank you very politely. because I'm a very polite person. But now I say thank you because that made me feel wonderful, or thank you because you really see me, or all of the feelings attached to those thank yous. Um, so he knows how much I care about him.
Mm. So how has he responded to the new Julie?
Um, and honestly, I think my husband is the same. I just think that I receive it more, because he is a really good guy. He, the intro was nothing short of true. He is patient and kind and loving, and takes a special type of person to, you know, marry chaos and have it turn into calm.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? So I hear you giving him credit for like creating an environment where it was possible for you to heal from some
Yeah,
of that
he
chaos. Is
really
that
did. He really did. He really does. He
what a
does, because I
gift?
know it's a process. I still uh, have things that I work through, but they're not in the forefront anymore. Um, I have ended relationships with um, a family that is toxic and really terrible experiences. And I, in the past, would never be able to share this with you without being broken down into tears.
Mm.
Um, that's how far I've come. That it's just, I don't love it, I don't hate it, but I also don't wish it was different. Like, so
Mm.
many times you hold on to surviving something like that and wish you still had a relationship with that person. You wish things were different, and that whole control thing comes in. And I don't wish it were different. I accept it for what it was, and I healed from it. I've let go of my part, the shame that I carried around with it, and I feel so good. It was such a release.
Wow. I would love to hear about that because I think this is so common. So many of us, so many people have traumatic childhood experiences or whenever experiences and feel a lot of shame. How did you let go of that? Like how did that happen?
Well, one thing I did was recognize that I'm not broken, because I thought I was broken. I thought I was unlovable. I thought I wasn't worth it. Um, but I accept bad things happen to me that I didn't deserve. I had no control over. Even when I had control over it, I didn't know any better.
Mm-mm,
Um, and it's not my shame to carry.
mm-mm.
And I think the skills were helpful in that with every piece of self-care I did, I finally learned how to love myself.
Mm.
Like, self-care and loving yourself always seemed like buzzwords, you know?
Yes. Oh
Like,
yeah.
it's a thing to
Yeah.
do, but I didn't know
Yeah.
how to do it. And then once I really experienced it, I love me. I am a good person. I have a kind heart. Uh, I don't hold grudges. Um, I'm as helpful as I can be without, taking over anymore.
Being too helpful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I do. I for the first time, I love me.
Wow. Okay.
Everything
So,
about me, good and bad
and
and ugly.
I love it. And so, and it sounds like, because I think a lot of this we hear like, oh no, you're lovable, you deserve it, don't feel ashamed or whatever. We can hear all that. That didn't do it for you.
No, no,
Yeah.
because it's a process. It's kind of like um, leaving a domestic violence relationship. I knew better. My brain, to some
Mm.
degree, your heart knows it's not right, or, I this person doesn't like me, but you don't know how,
Right.
or you don't have the courage yourself, or you haven't worked through your part in it, So everything, everything is a process. So I just think the takeaways: don't give up on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to be the best version of myself for me.
Yeah.
And what that attracts is fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned that you do self-care. That's part of your
Mhm.
self-love.
Mhm.
So what does that look like? How do you do self-care?
It can, well, I used to think it was like massages and pedicures and stuff like that, which it is. Like, if I can do that, that's fantastic. But it can be something as small as making my favorite sweet and spicy tea and taking 5 minutes for myself to like really think about what I want the day to look like. It can be something as easy as stretching on a foam roller. It can be lighting a candle so something that smells good is nearby. Um, Self care sounds hard in the beginning, and it was hard. I had a hard time thinking of things. Um, but again, group came in really well, and then everyone would share the self care, and I'd be like, I gotta try that.
That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah. And then I had the task of like, I wrote down self care that takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, all the way up. And when I first started, uh, after I read your book, I broke my day up into quarters so that if I had a really cruddy morning, I didn't have a cruddy day. And
Mm.
so then when self care was implemented, I started doing one of those things in each of those quarters, one or more.
So that's at least four a day
Yeah,
right
at least
there.
four.
Yeah.
And it helped tremendously with my mood. It turns out when I show myself some love, I become lovable.
Oh, imagine that. And so, I mean, and I'm saying it like kind of facetiously, like, oh, imagine that. But really, imagine that, right? Like it was, so the world changed. The world looked different to you.
Yes, it did look very different to me. I became
Yeah.
more grateful for my husband providing that safe place that I could explore what makes me happy, who I want to be, how I want to be, um, goals that I want for myself. Nothing is off the table. Even the healing part of it, nothing was off the table. I was willing to try anything. I read books. I tried to put therapy. I mean, I was going to do it all. And he was like, you go,
He
whatever
was
it
so
takes.
supportive.
Yeah.
I love it.
Um, I also think one of the things I remember is that during those times of cold wars, when I didn't know what to say and I didn't know what to do or how I would react, there was a lot of walking on eggshells on my part. Um, but it was all one-sided. He was just withdrawing to be safe. It was nothing to do with me. So I started to realize that, you know, I just need to honor myself, and how he reacts, that's his reaction. It has nothing to do with me.
So it was like control, walking on
Yeah,
eggshells, trying to control his reaction.
yeah.
And you don't do that anymore, it
Oh
sounds like.
no, no. I'm more tactful sometimes about what I want to say, like really think about how it's going to land. But I don't feel restrictive, and I don't feel like there's anything I
Oppressed.
can't say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a little bit of a yeah, and when you talk about walking on eggshells, that is a little oppressive, right? There's a little
yeah,
bit like, oh, I can't say what I really want to say here because then he might get angry or withdraw. Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
fair to say?
But I
Okay.
can say anything I want. It just needs to be done correctly. I
Okay.
need to stay respectful and kind and come out of a place of vulnerability instead of defensiveness. I mean, I think it's really easy to get your guard up thinking you're going to get hurt and
Very.
then say something in a tone that you don't even realize you're saying. So much of our cold wars were really started by uh, best intentions coming out the wrong way.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're a team. And I love him. And I know he loves me. And I think anything is possible when we got put our heads together. So yeah.
That's, I've got chills head to toe. That feels so inspiring to hear um, how much of a team you guys feel like now. Wait, does he still seem depressed or like a gaming
Um,
addict? Is he a gaming addict?
no, he's not a gaming addict. Actually, doing self-care, I realized, hey, that's a self-care.
Yeah, that's right.
And
That's
what
right.
if I was good at games? Maybe I would feel that way too, because if you're in a game, you get some esteem because you're good at it.
Yeah.
He ends up taking some kind of leadership role where he's showing other people how to do stuff. He likes to be a teaching person. You
A
get
mentor.
kudos and points, who knows, all of those things. So yeah, it's a way of like, good job. I get it now. And
Yeah.
as far as like addict, no, I just think new games comes out and he'll get submersive. And then eventually he finds something about the game and it's annoying and he comes back to me. I'm still here.
Yeah. So it doesn't because I know that feeling, right? Of like, oh my gosh, so he's playing a game again. Does that come up for you?
um, I I admit there's still some times where that happens, but when that happens for me, I think, okay, this is how I feel. Why do I feel this way? What do I need to do? And usually I go take a bath, or I start watching a show that he wouldn't want to watch and I want to watch, or I listen to some music and I just start focusing on me. And when he comes back, I'm not resentful that he's playing a game. I'm actually pretty super happy. And I think that makes a ton of difference.
It does. It really does. So, and what about the part with the Cold Wars and we're thinking he was depressed? How's that now?
No, no, there's not been a Cold War or since I can't remember right now, but
That's pretty
that's
good,
pretty
right?
good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I and as far as being depressed, you know what? I don't spend time thinking about whether he's depressed because he's gonna feel how he feels. And if feels that way, he'll let me know. But I just see it as, you know, I give him as much grace as he gives me, and as much grace as I give myself, and that works tremendously. So
So, what is your marriage like?
marriage now, well, it's not it's not much different than it was in the beginning. I think my marriage is pretty much the same. I am different. I am completely different. Um, I take stock of what's important. I ask myself how I feel, what do I want, and then I do something about it. And if what I feel isn't true, I look for evidence everywhere that it's not true, because, you know, a traumatic brain can go back to some pretty scary places, and they don't exist. They don't exist here in this moment.
I think I hear a confidence that you can get yourself out of that now. Like,
Yes.
even if
Yes,
your
I
brain wants to go somewhere, you're like able to decide where your brain's going to go. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, like that list I read you about my future self
Yeah.
in the beginning, I read that every night. I read it, and I also had a list of pure desires to go with it. And it really was my focus. And as things started to happen, I really learned the power of my thoughts. Um, I'm a good manifester.
You are. You
And I
are.
didn't realize that that was what was happening, that I can look for negative everywhere and it will come true. And now I look for it nowhere.
Yeah,
So
right.
it doesn't come true.
You're not going to seek that anymore.
No, no. And I know that if I'm unhappy, I have the power to make myself happy. I
Now,
didn't
I
think that
mean,
was
and
true.
you didn't know that, right? So before it just felt like it was not, it wasn't your choice, right? These negative thoughts would just happen to you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I felt like this loop I was on was like the broken parts of me. I didn't know how to make it stop. Um, I'm so glad I found you in your books. I'm so glad. I think my life from here on out is going to be pretty happy.
It seems like it. It seems like it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in some ways, when I listen to your story, Julie, it's not really about your marriage.
No,
It's
no, it wasn't.
right.
No.
It's not about your marriage.
I think going to marriage counseling and starting this process, I thought it was about my marriage because, again, my husband was the closest target. Um, but I think coming out of it, what I realized is the way it was about my marriage is that I didn't want to run anymore.
Mhm.
I didn't want to leave something I knew to be good behind because the next thing wasn't going to be better. Um,
Mm-mm.
yeah, he really went through it with me. He let me know that he really cares about me.
Oh, this is fantastic because I also hear you had a deep desire to be loved and you
Mhm.
honored your desire
Yeah,
with the man that was in front of you.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's a good man.
it sounds like it. It
He's
sounds
a really good man.
it's hard to get you to say anything bad about him from before.
I think,
So-
so many people are like, I want to go back to the beginning and, you know, I wish I'd known him earlier. But I honestly think it wouldn't have made a difference because I needed to go through all of this to get where I am now. Our paths wouldn't have crossed any earlier, but man, sometimes if it could have been this good before, uh, I wish it would have happened.
yeah. But I think what I hear you saying is it's this good now.
Yeah.
And you're taking such delight in that, which I love seeing. And also that I always think of Maya Angelou, right? I wouldn't take nothing from my journey now.
Yeah.
I think I hear that from you too. Like this is your story. You're gathering up all the little broken pieces of glass and making a beautiful stained glass window.
Mhm.
And it really is beautiful.
It is beautiful. I'm very grateful.
Yeah. I'm grateful. It's very attractive, your gratitude. What what would you say to a woman who is where you were, where she's feeling broken and she is does not know how to stop withdrawing? She just knows running away. That's all she's got. And she wants to get to where you are, where you sound like you have superpowers.
Mhm.
No?
Well, it's really hard because I know that having been in that moment, people said a lot of things to me that didn't quite reach the inside. You're beautiful, you're kind, whatever it is. I would say take the focus off what's around you and just look straight at yourself. You have the power. It might not feel like it, it hurts a lot, but you have the power and don't give up on yourself. Eh, Start with self care, take baby steps. If it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, so be it. But it's a process. Give yourself some grace. Treat yourself the way you treat everyone else. You keep giving and giving and giving. Give to yourself. Show yourself some love. You don't have to do anything to be of value. Just do for yourself.
Mm.
And the other things will come into place. You'll feel better. You'll feel better. And there's a lot of like books or therapies you can try. Nothing's off the table, but give yourself all of the power and put all the focus on you.
Nice. I like that. And what would you say about how this has affected your kids?
My kids. Well, I don't think they knew all of the stuff that was happening, but um, they might be a little bummed because I've made them do more because I was I was doing the dishes and cleaning their rooms and picking up after them. And my house is messy right now because I will not pick up after them as much as I did before. But they have to load the dishwasher and load the dishwasher. And like, I'm trying to like delegate myself out of a job.
I love it.
Because I feel like they are learning to be responsible and good people. And I think they've also seen their mom struggle like with emotions, and um, that they know bad things have happened to me, but I don't know for sure what the extent is. I just like I remind them over and over again to listen to their bodies, listen to their heads, listen to yourself. You know the answers, that kind of stuff. Um, but they're loving, kind little human beings that are now having to learn how to clean up after themselves.
And you're just giggling with delight about this. So were they mad? I mean, that must have been, because that was a big change. It sounds like you were the kitchen elf at first.
Not mad at first. They were like, why do I have to do this? And I remember saying something to my son that, am I the only one that eats dinner? He's like, well, no. I go, well, then why should I be the only one to do the dishes?
Huh.
Okay,
couldn't answer that one.
No, I couldn't. But they're actually, I've turned it around in ways like, hey, who wants to help me? I could use a good helper, that's helped,
Yeah.
Just keeping it positive and light. And I would love a clean kitchen. Who would like to help me?
And your kids naturally want to help their mom. It sounds like they want to make you happy too.
Yeah, my daughter will come home sometimes. Can I clean the toilets? Sure.
Okay, wait a minute.
I would love that.
How did you get to that? But everyone would like to know how you got your daughter just come home and say, "Can I clean the toilet?"
She just wants to help. She's a good helper. But I want to make sure that she doesn't go too far, like I was,
Oh yeah,
I will take your help, but I don't need you to help. Yeah, that's not the role you need to play.
That's not your source of value. It's just it's a contribution to the family. But yeah, no, I totally get that. It's pretty cute. Kids, man, they say funny things. I like it. And what would you say to Julie if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now?
Oh, I'd give her a big hug.
Right.
And I'd let her know that this really hurts right now. I mean, it really hurts. But there's this book, and you should listen to it over and over again. Because those skills were life-changing. It was really hard to be stuck with all those emotions and not know what to do with them. It's like I was peeling back the onion. I knew there was something dark inside, and I was peeling back the onion. And once I let go of these emotions that I didn't know I had, well, what do you do with them? What are the tools in the toolbox? And when I discovered those intimacy skills, I'm a good student. And it really helped me to have something to focus on that was attainable and I could do this. Sometimes it felt hard, and so I would probably tell her, you can do all the hard things.
That was one of your self-fulfilling prophecies early on.
I can do all the hard things, and to shift it to, I'm not broken. I'm a survivor. I'm lovable. Like I really had to learn to see these things in myself. But in order to do that, you have to focus on you, not your marriage, not the kids, not work, not what's going around your crazy world, but really take stock of yourself.
There's lots of distractions.
There is.
That'll pull you away from
Yeah. What seems most pressing at the time. I think it's hard to learn that no matter what's going on, you have to take good care of yourself.
Yeah. And I really appreciate hearing how hard and how painful it was, because I think in some ways, that's the part that can make you feel stuck, right? Like,
Mhm.
uh, nobody wants to feel that pain or do hard things, really, right? In some ways, it's like, I don't want to do that. But you're just a great example of like what's on the other side of that, and you were strong enough. You are strong enough
Yes.
to feel those feelings, that you didn't die.
I did not die.
Yeah. I
There
mean,
were
right?
moments where you're like, I feel like this is too hard. There's got to be an easier way. But there isn't. Isn't an easier way. But you're worth it. You're worth it to just just keep going. There were so many times where I wanted to give up in the last, years of my life. And I didn't see any other way. But there is. This is the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how, tell me a little more about how you're different now. Like, how is Julie different than old Julie?
Well, I wake up really happy. I wake up
Wow.
really happy. Um,
And how did you
that
used to wake up? How did
you
you?
know, like your body is sore and I don't want to go to work and everything's kind of meh. I wake up really happy. Um, when I wake my kids up for school, I crawl into bed with them and snuggle with them and ask them what they dreamed about, what an awesome day they're going to have. Like my mentality is different. Um, I think it's sprinkled all over everywhere, whether it's works, kids, other relationships, like it's all turned really positive.
Wow.
Um, I'm just different. It's
Yeah.
it's so hard to explain because it sounds like a magic wand happened,
I think it
but it
did.
did. It really did.
We ask you that all the time, right? What's your magic wand? If you had
I
a
am
magic
my magic
wand,
wand.
you are your magic wand, because you're a really good manifester. And you've done a great job manifesting a joyful life and a happy marriage, a safe, happy marriage, with a loyal, honest, funny man.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm just getting a portrait of a very happy family.
Yeah. I told him recently that I'm so grateful because I am experiencing the most safety, the most love, and the most happiness I have ever felt.
Oh my gosh. He must feel so successful as a husband.
I hope so. I don't know. That's his paper, but I hope so.
Has he ever acknowledged though this? Because you're transformed. What does he say to you about this?
um, he doesn't say much. I just noticed in his actions, like I we're around each other more. We just got back from a cruise.
Oh,
So yeah,
right.
we just got to spend like 5 days alone together. And we're actually still alone now. My kids are with grandma and grandpa. So this is like this never happens. So the fact that this long period of time and we really enjoy each other's company. In fact, on our way home, he's like, I love that after 10 years, you and I can still laugh together and that we're just the same as we were before. And I was like, oh. At that moment, I was like,
That is a beautiful acknowledgement. I give you all the credit secretly for that. So,
well, thank you.
yeah. Yeah. Congratulations on all the hard and painful work you did to have this incredible outcome where you guys go on a cruise and laugh together, and you're just overflowing with joy. So well done.
Thank you so much.
Something big is happening on the Laura Doyle campus, and you're invited. In January, I hosted a free 5-day Adored Wife Challenge, and thousands of women joined to take the practical steps to make their marriages last and thrive. And even I was amazed at the astounding results they got. We're about to start the 5-day Adored Wife Challenge again, where I'll share my best stuff for free. And the coaches are hosting a week of pre-challenge inspiration starting on August 15th, 2022. So register now at lauradoyle.org/challenge so you don't miss any of the action, because this only happens twice a year. Join us on our mission to end world divorce and go to lauradoyle.org/challenge. I'll see you there.
Relationship advice. The worst relationship advice. Yeah, it's the worst relationship advice. The worst relationship advice of the week.
And now it's time for the Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award. And the advice that has me disgruntled this week was sent to me by a coach training student who wrote, "Just got this email of a new show coming soon on Netflix. It's called The Ultimatum, Marry or Move On." So here's your anonymous shout out for sending me this obviously terrible tactic for getting what you want in a relationship. Thanks for your contribution to the podcast. As another student pointed out, sending me bad relationship is my love language. So thanks for the love. Sometimes handing out the Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award feels like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, where's the sport in it if they're going to name a show The Ultimatum, Marry or Move On? But since lots of us learned everything we know about relationships from TV shows and movies, I can't resist pointing and giggling at this one and then saying, shh, when it gets within earshot. No wonder so many women think that the way to get what we want in a relationship is to make threats, right? That's what ultimatums are. They're threats and attempts to control. And all threats and control come from fear. I'm afraid you're not going to marry me unless I make you marry me, which is not such a great feeling. In fact, it's a terrible feeling. And ironically, threats and control make you highly resistible right when you're most wanting to be irresistible, which is heartbreaking because you're already so scared you're not lovable or marriageable. And now your attempt to control is likely to prove you right. Same goes with ultimatums after you're married, like, if you don't stop talking to that pretty coworker, you're sleeping on the couch. Or if you don't start helping with the chores and kids more, I'm going to leave you. If you don't go to marriage counseling, I'm going to file for divorce. The tragedy is that the guy who's getting threatened, which is likely to make just about anybody defensive, already wants to make you happy. He already wants to make you happy. That's how men are wired. He doesn't need threats to get him going. He needs your trust and respect and appreciation. And for that reason, the ultimatum, marry or move on, is the very, very worst relationship advice I have heard all week. Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. Next week, I'll talk about how to save a marriage when only one is trying. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that my heart sank when I dropped my phone from pretty high up, but luckily it was in airplane mode.